Peace and power. Your brother, your friend, your dietitian back again for another installment. Inspirit Nutrition. Today it's going to be a little bit of inspiriting, the Inspirit vibe. I'm coming with books that have changed my life. The collections of Tony Gleaton. Hope you enjoy. The collections of Tony Gleaton. Who is Tony Gleaton? Tony Gleaton was and is he wouldn't say he's a photojournalist. He wouldn't call himself that. He would just call himself a photographer. But to make a long story long, in high school, I was dealing with, seeing, spent some time with, however you want to say it, with a young sister who was into studying, different history and different topics in history, African history, Africana, Pan-African history, whatever you want to call it. But she put me on to like an exhibit, and I never even got to go, but she showed me like pictures, and she knew about and kind of spoke of Afro-mexicanos, Afro-Mexicans, basically black Mexicans, Moorish Mexicans, or however you want to say it. And she showed me like these beautiful pictures, and she used to have these beautiful pictures on her page, on her internet page, or MySpace page. And it really intrigued me because it was just beautiful. It was nice, and I had never really heard of that really and tapped too much into it. And so she used to go to Mexico as well on like vacations and things like that, and she would come back with a nice tan, and she was speaking a little bit of Spanish and all that, and it was just really intriguing to me. But later on, I came to find out that after my own personal side studies, I found out that the exhibit that she had gone to was the exhibit of Tony Gleaton. So here it says Tony Gleaton, and this is a brother. I believe he's from, I'm not even going to guess, but I think he's from Honduras, but I'm not even sure. He could be from Mexico, actually. I don't even know where he's from. Really stoic, dark-hued brother on the back. I think this sister is from Honduras or Guatemala. I have no idea, because these aren't labeled. The ones inside are labeled, but she has like some nice jewelry, again, really stoic. And Tony Gleaton is a photographer, but he wouldn't call himself a photojournalist. He really kind of sets people up in the photos, and he documents, he basically wants to document the unseen, the unheard, those who aren't covered in history, those who are brushed underneath the rug. And so he documented a lot of the Afro-Latin population, because when people speak Spanish or they see a so-called black person, they think only of a certain box that they place people in. But really, you have people that look like this, or the people that look like me or like her, all over the planet. And when I say all over the planet, I mean all over the planet, because we are the oldest people on the planet, some of the oldest people on the planet. And so when you have the original people, old people on the planet, you're going to find them all over the place. So this book really changed my life, because it was a difference between reading it in like encyclopedias and history books about Afro-Latin populations, and actually seeing like photos, and really deep telling photos. And so that's why this book really changed the game for me and changed my life. I want to flip through some of the photos in here, and then let you guys kind of see just a bit of it, and share a little bit of the book. All right. So there's some really like great photos in here. Like I said, this one is in Nicaragua. Hope the camera focuses in. But this is a picture of, I think, a abuelita and su nieto, grandmother and her grandchild. The one next to it is in Oaxaca. It's in Mexico. This one's in Bolivia. You see the young brother in the background. Dark hue, curly hair. They even have some people here in like in El Salvador, where people think that there's not really afro-latino population, but you'll find that there are. it's una boda. It's a wedding. And as you can see, the mom is straight up look like somebody from, you know, South Central or something, and somewhere in Africa. And then the son, I think his name was Maurice or Mario or something like that. But he's also depicted there with his wife or bride to be. So I hope it's in focus. I have to check it. But yeah, these really changed the game. This is also in Mexico, but I want to see if I can find one. This one's in Honduras. Really cool, nice haircuts. So this is pretty dope. On the right, we have Oaxaca from Mexico. A lot of these people that are from Mexico are from the Costa Chica region. It's where the highest afro-latin population is found in the Costa Chica region. It's found in Mexico. Then you have in Belize, young beautiful sister. I think it's flowers in her hair. She's from Belize. Got another sister from Guatemala here, but let's go to another photo. Skip around and see what else I got. This one, it's really nice. It's from Guatemala también. Also, it's from Guatemala. Little sister. And this one I think is from Mexico. Yeah, this one's from Guerrero. So there's a bunch of photos in here, and Tony Gleaton has stuff on the internet as well. This is in Colombia. Colombia has a large Afro-Latin population. So yeah, he documents it all. You know, he went through and traveled and took beautiful pictures. Like I'm looking at some from El Salvador. This is my favorite one. Three sisters. That's my favorite one. It's so beautiful. But yeah, it really changed the game because you know, sometimes the story isn't told, and with live photographs and things like that, portraits, it's beautiful, and they all tell a story, and they all show that humanity is a lot more complex, and we're more united than we are separated. In America, there's like beef between the impoverished classes, and some of the impoverished classes are whites, blacks, Latinos, and it depends on where you're at. But in LA, so a lot of times the impoverished classes are made up. The impoverished class is made up of so-called blacks and Latinos, and there's some friction when you put, you know, throw crumbs or throw a piece of meat into a scarce area where there's, you know, dogs fighting, where they have to fight for food and fight for survival. You're gonna have some type of friction and people battling each other. But when you see that there's a common history, a lot of these people, they're so-called mestizos, so they're so-called mixed. So they have African bloodlines, but it's mixed in with indigenous and even, you know, European bloodlines, just like my history or other people's history that are you know, kind of blended in. I have, you know, indigenous in my bloodline, some European history back in my bloodline, and so it's a really good kind of connector when you see the photos. So this is a book that really changed the game. You can go to Tony Gleaton's website, or you can go to Amazon, look up Tony Gleaton's photography. You can check it out. Yeah, it really opened up a lot of things for me. Opened up a lot of doors. In fact, it opened me up to some historical figures and doing some research on Afro-Latinos in the past. So yeah, it's tight. So some of the Afro-Latinos that I got put onto from like studying history, there's a huge list. There's women. I'm only going to go over men. There's people in modern times who are still living. There's people in modern times who lived recently and passed away in music and politics and all kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to leave people out. I'm just saying, you know, in sports, there's all kind of people. But I'm just saying this is a kind of interesting list that I came across of people who really kind of inspired me. And what you'll find is that history is like rewritten, and history is kind of told by the victor. And so certain people are written out of history, or if they're mentioned in small kind of pockets, small parts, because history is a guidepost of a nation. So history will let you know where you've been and where you can go and how you can change. History gives you self-respect and gives you a certain dignity about yourself when you learn about your own history. So that's why history of certain people in classes are buried. And when I studied Latin American history, there's a lot of history to be studied. I still have a lot to study. You should never just focus in on one part. You should study national history, then study it in sectors and all that. So I'm not trying to, silo things or pigeonhole things. But when you study history, you'll find like brave, courageous Afro-Latinos or Latinos who are of African descent, who people don't really know that they were African or they're of African descent, or they just deny it, or it's just lost in history. Where once you start opening up the pages of history, spend only an hour in a good library. Now you have the internet, but a library is even better. Spend an hour in a good library, you can find the truth. So, like there's people like Gaspar Yanga or Gaspar Iñanga. He was a liberator down in Mexico, in Veracruz, and he was basically the first. He's from West Africa, but he was brought over here as an enslaved, human being, and he freed himself and freed others and created a kind of colony and settlement, to the point where they were so strong and so brave and so so focused and united that they founded a form of government, and the European Spanish had to respect the settlement, and they signed treaties and agreements saying like, we're not going to keep trying to invade and raid you guys, as long as you sign certain agreements, like you don't accept any new runaway slaves, or you don't do this or do that. They had certain stipulations, but the point is that he was the first liberator, libertador, I guess that's how you would say it in Spanish, el primer libertador en los Americas. And so he was the first liberator of the Americas, and this is an African. You know what I mean? He's a courageous brother, and there's an area out in Mexico named Yanga after him because of what he did. Then you look at Mexico's history more, you see Jose Maria Morelos, who played a key part in the Mexican independence from Spain. And he's actually on the money out there, because I've been to Mexico and seen the pesos and stuff, and he's on the money, but he changes how he looks over time. I actually saw like a meme, and it's funny because now I have memes in English, Spanish. I saw a meme and it was showing the money changing over time, and it was saying how like they're taking out making Morelos his like nappy hair, they're like covering it or like changing it, but he was a brother, you know what I mean? He had African bloodline, and again, he's not like 100% Africano, but I'm saying like it's an Afro-Latin history, and it's documented, you know what I mean, with pictures and things like that. It's beautiful. Also, the second president of Mexico, Vicente Guerrero Morelos, he has a state that's named after him. The guy I just said, Jose Maria Morelos, he has a state named after him, and Guerrero has a state named after him as well. Vicente Guerrero was second president of Mexico. His mother was African. He actually abolished slavery in Mexico. So and he played part in the independence of Mexico. So I mean, the history is just rich, and it really changed the game for me, because you look across the world and it's like, first of all, these are men of valor regardless of their race. But it's just interesting when you study certain history that was kind of like hidden or discarded, and then you see there's a glorious part of that history. And then also there's someone named Jose Prudencio Padilla Lopez. He was playing a part during just the overall Latin independence, because Simón Bolívar, he led the anti-Spanish colonialism and anti-imperialism and the liberation movement out in South America, and he freed up, I have to do more study, but he freed up like a dozen countries, and he created Gran Colombia, or Great Colombia, which consisted of multiple countries. So it was like Colombia, Venezuela, I think it even included Peru, Ecuador, like that top part of South America, and they created like a whole Gran Colombia. But this brother, Jose Padilla Lopez, he was a key component, key general in the battle against the Spanish. So it's just a lot of rich history where it's like these brave, valiant, you know what I mean, like soldiers, people who were like leading and led to the liberation of the whole of nations, you know what I mean? And these are Afro-Latinos, but they make it seem like these people just don't exist or don't play any part in the history. And then when you go into like Cuba, and everybody knows Cuba has a lot of, you know, brothers and sisters Afro-Latinos, but you have Antonio Grajales. I can't even say his name. I have to take note of his name. But Antonio Maceo Grajales. I can't say his last name. But he was second in command in Cuba. So he made sure that, you know, everything popped off the way it's supposed to pop off. They, you know what I mean, beheaded or took out whoever they need to take out. And he was a brother. Then you also have a brother who was also Afro Cubano, and he was a revolucionario, and he was Juan Gomez. He used the pen to promote, you know, racial unity, igualdad in Cuba, and he was also a revolutionary and was right there with, you know, Antonio Grajales, who I mentioned before, and, you know, during the Cuban Revolutionary movement. So you have people in Puerto Rico. I mean, you have people like all over. And then I gotta shout out Zumbi Espalmares. You know, Didan Zumbi. You know, that's the YouTube. That's my YouTube moniker. But Zumbi is from Brazil. Zumbi das Palmares. He was a revolutionary, kind of like Gaspar Yanga. He came 100 or so years after Gaspar Yanga, but he did the same thing Gaspar Yanga did. They set up a settlement and colony, a free state, and it lasted for almost 100 years, and it's called Palomares. And so he's also an Afro-Latino, even though he's from Brazil. There's a lot of Afro-Latinos in Brazil. I haven't got deep into the history because I don't speak a lot of Portuguese. But this is one of the books that changed the game for me. Tony Gleaton and his work, and he exposed a lot of these. Actually, I studied a lot of these historical figures while I was kind of picking up the book. But the book is popping. Your brother, your friend, Inspirit Nutrition, back again for another installment. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.